I call the order for May 12th, 2026. And on the agenda is any public comments? Gentlemen, ladies? No. Okay, Chief's report.
All right, I did submit a report last week. And would be happy to answer any questions you all may have on the report.
Oh. Okay, you guys?
I went through it and
Did you find the spelling error this year?
I didn't find the spelling error.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
No prize this month.
Did you put one in there?
Not gonna tell you.
Okay, and now goal one, let me,
Staffing report.
I can vote
Yeah,
staffing
staff.
report in it. That's all.
oh, sorry,
That's fine.
Green was not in that.
Not too much change for staffing report. We didn't lose any career or volunteer members in the last month. We do have one volunteer that's processing through. So maybe next month we'll actually have a new volunteer.
Okay, did you have two? that-
One didn't process all the way through.
Oh, okay.
And we did get one of our career members back, that was out, back on shift now, so getting a little bit better there. Other than that, staffing is similar to where we were last month.
Oh, Pam's online.
What's your order of operations for the volunteers you put through EMT first?
Yes,
And these are the career people that we hired, they're going through their trainings right now.
we have that also. Yes, they're in academy and they're graduated in June,
Graduation's on the
June 20th.
20, yep.
So June 20th, we'll have our three.
Yeah, what time is that during the day? That's a Saturday.
We're waiting for a flyer, I do believe.
You guys sent today. Should
Oh,
be in
good.
the inbox. Yeah, because that's 2 o'clock. I have that orders. We'll make sure
Unfortunately,
everybody's-
I won't be able to make that one. I'm posting a bridal shower.
We'll get it shared around best we can and get all the support we can for it. So yeah, thank you for sending that.
Yep.
Yeah, so then the three new folks added on, one on each platoon. So
So how close are we, I don't know if this would you, how close are we then to getting enough staff to do 2 stations 24/7?
let me roll that right into our goal 5. and
Oh, okay,
we'll talk
okay,
our
perfect.
Goal here, our 5-year plan. So this, to refresh our minds, last year we put together what's our 2026 goals to achieve. And I'll precurse this with, all this was before any consolidation discussion or anything like that. So keep in mind that that's a whole separate, this was 3/4 of the research was already done before any of that kind of talk happened. So we're just going in the vein of where we were with our current 5-year plan. And looking at the review on that, there were some things that had changed kind of organically, and obviously we had our surprise with the budget,
Yeah.
all that. So our 5-year plan is now, well, we're not on track with what our current document. So what I'll talk us through is the review on our 5-year plan. We'll point out some of the differences of what we said we have it and what we're actually kind of trajected to do. And in the end, my recommendation is we just look at modifying our 5-year plan with more aligned of what we're actually approved for our staffing and all that stuff. So this is goal 1, portion 2, which was to submit the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis to Chief Van Camp. And I had submitted that to him last month. We've gone through, reviewed it. The chief asked me just to send it to you all and talk through and go through there. So I don't necessarily need to read it to everybody. If you have the opportunity to kind of cruise through it, I can talk at a high level, and then probably the value for you is just the Q&A and discussion on the specifics if there's anything within that. But in short, strengths, we obviously have more staff, so we've gotten more career. Our staffing's been improving. We do have a process for our onboarding for volunteer and for career. We got that steadied out. Some of the weaknesses are we still having staffing challenges with Station 83. Station 81, obviously, we're always pretty well staffed up at 81. But about 97% of the time we're staffing Station 83. So it's actually kind of progressing up, but it's oftentimes it's an aid unit, not a full engine company. So we don't have company officer and or driver operator to have the actual engine But 97% of the time, it's either an 8 unit or an engine out there. So with the way we are now, we'll see our 3 new recruits coming on, but it's gonna be a little bit before they get spun up on their driver operator and all that. So it'll be a little bit more progressive to come, but that's some of the weaknesses. Opportunities, we still have a lot of interest in volunteers, but we've shifted our volunteer program because we weren't getting a lot of return on investment, the longevity of volunteers that would come through. We from go to EMT Academy, Fire Academy, all that, and they were getting hired faster than we were getting the shift staffing from them. So we modified our volunteer program, and essentially now we have really 2 tracks. We have a primary volunteer track, which is we're just looking for people maybe more established in life that aren't necessarily trying to get that career position, that they're maybe live in district, they already have career, family, live somewhere in the area. And we're really looking for the person that wants to volunteer for sake of volunteering for good long period of time. Obviously, we don't have a contract or make them do anything that they have to do forever, but we're trying to target that. The challenge with that is that's far fewer and in between, because about 18 or 19 out of 20 are here because they want to get that foot in the door to become a firefighter. So we've shifted.
On that first part, sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt, on that first part of trying to get that long-term person. So what is your message or your advertising or your pitch that brings people in that are in that category?
Yeah, great question. So we're actually at a step now where we've just kind of more formalized the what we're looking for. Our next steps we'll be developing is how we recruit, how we promote, how we advertise. So that's some of the work that's still to be done. But looking for more, and I don't want to put Lillian too much on the spot, but one of the missions her and I work on closely is how we would get that through community outreach team, through our COT. We want to start kind of formalizing the, hey, look at somebody who is already, somewhere, but maybe their kids, they want their kids to look up to them for being a firefighter or an EMT, or you can fit this in your life. And we modified some of the expectations so that it's not quite as rigid as we had it for the full, we had a period of time where all volunteers had to keep up with everything that all our career staff had to do. And it wasn't as realistic with the time commitment. It wasn't all that. So by having it be, hey, come in and be an EMT with us, you don't have to worry about all the firefighting. Looking to be an EMT and just kind of slow the process out a bit more. So it's less draining, so it takes less out of there. So the general, we haven't worked out exactly. I don't have a motto or anything yet, but just shifting the message more toward trying to find people who might have a little extra time in their life, who might be able to come be a part of our team, and then hopefully do that for a long time and make it sustainable. We've gotten more friendly on their scheduling capability so that they would work with their battalion chief, fit in when they can, still have the expectation that they pull the 2 24-hour shifts within a month. But to try to make it a little more accommodating for.
I think one of the things, one of the hows is, I think, more involvement in the community. So there's sort of an organic touching and hearing and listening to the community, participating in community events and having opportunities to have like the sidebar conversation with somebody that might casually say, I've kind of thought about volunteering, or I used to volunteer, or I've got too much time on my hands or something. And, I think it's multiple ways of doing it. I think, we've sent out social media, trying to do that, but I think that the organically mixing with the community and the events that we participate in will probably be our strongest draw on that. Who knows? I mean, I think we've looked at every way but Sunday, and I think this is kind of a way we really haven't tried before, and see how far it goes. So the multiple ways of, I think, trying to let people know that there is an opportunity and try to pique their interest.
Yeah, okay. And partly I asked the question because sometime last year, May or June, we had the meetings with some volunteer folks and people, we had some brainstorming and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things I do recall coming out of that was some discussion and kind of a decision, hey, trying to get people that are more kind of long-term and somebody who's already got a career in the area, but might want to volunteer. That came out of it quite some time ago.
Yeah.
So we need to take the next step to, how do we get those people? How do we advertise for those people? How do we identify those people?
Yes, and I don't have the exact answer on exactly the how on advertising, finding them all yet. We have a few ideas, but that's the
Yeah.
strategy to take.
Yeah.
I rely on smarter people than me, like Lillian, to help figure out kind of how social media, she's said it in a very simple way for me to understand that there are ways you can geographically target on social media
Yeah.
and try to find the certain type of person, not necessarily promote out the, we're gonna help you get your career type of message, but rather for those that have some extra time when they're part of a cool team and you already have some extra time, you're already career, you already have your family, to try to find that, how
I
exactly.
commend you to keep going,
Yeah,
keep pushing that forward.
exactly how to find them, that's the harder, because it's such a sliver of demographic that that we're finding. So that's the general strategy on there. So we feel like that's one of our opportunities that might have. But accepting the fact that the numbers are probably gonna be lower at one point, we bring in 18 people at a time.
Right.
And 17 out of 18 of them are trying to get a career job.
And you're still only accepting applications twice a year?
We're accepting applications anytime, but we process them twice a year.
Okay, again, which I've always, especially for these people that you're trying to target in a certain way, there's always a plus and a minus of, hey, great, you want to come and join our team, go sit on the bench for 6 months and then we'll get back to you when we're ready to help you through.
And trying to keep them engaged in
Yeah.
between that time is a helpful piece too.
Yeah.
So for people that were getting more interest, we put a little more emphasis on maybe doing a ride along or come on in or be a part of some of the events that we
So
do.
part of the reason why you have it only twice a year is that because of the schooling?
That's a big part, yeah, because we're trying to time them out. Otherwise, now you remember,
and
you got nothing for 5
It
months.
made sense before when you're processing 18 at a time, that you couldn't do that, all the time, every week, so that made sense, but, now you're down to a selected. Yeah.
And-
Fewer number.
And we have added in the past, we've changed up our process on how we bring them on. Another one was that we didn't, we would make them go to the public safety testing CPAT, where they have to go pay $300 to take the test, same process as for a career. And we found that by doing that, well, we've already told them halfway, go get your career job. So we've
Yeah.
changed up that. When we moved back to having our in-house, we do our physical agility test in the Bay here that we had several years ago, and it meets the intent of the standard to be able to go to a fire academy or qualify yourself physically, but it's not certified test for that. And then some of the change was we've also added in that we now do background, we've done the background, but the psychological profile, same one that we do for our career staff. We send all of our volunteers to the same psychological profile and the same medical process. Going back to, as I've explained before, the delays on hiring, there's just it takes another 2 months before we get their medical. It takes a month to get their psych. It takes a month to schedule these things out. We've also built in that so that some of that time is front loaded in so that there's more of a window. In fact, Lillian even made a nice flow chart that shows they need this much time to do this, and that's why we time in certain dates, process them in through here, their psych, medical, on board.
So when you have a volunteer, do you share that with them? This is the process that it takes so that they understand that?
Yep.
Do we lose a lot of people during that wait time? Do you know? Have you ever looked?
We didn't lose people due to time. We lost people due to not passing a psychological profile.
Yeah,
or medical,
okay,
But
okay.
for a different reason. I
Yeah.
haven't yet seen anybody say this is taking too long on board and I'm leaving.
Well, that's good.
Which good. I haven't yet. So, anyway, that's kind of our primary volunteer track. The other one is our lateral, and what we're putting more emphasis in, and I'm getting a little bit ahead, but I'll put a bookmark on this, but we'll talk about our resident program and circle back into that here in a minute. So as far as master plan, recommendations, considerations moving forward, our 5-year master plan, we've gone through a review, and if you all recall, I'll go back and forth a little bit, but I gave you some handouts. If you remember this last year, every month I gave you here's how many career and volunteer and lieutenants and all that we have. That was all based on the fact that was our 5-year master plan. That was when our intent was to have 9 career lieutenants. We're gonna put 3 lieutenants. If you remember, the board instruction was to
Yeah.
put 3
Okay.
lieutenants on each one. Then after we had our budget adjustment, we were gonna hire 5 and that would have built us into that number. So our current 5-year master plan actually says that we're still doing that. But then without hiring our 5 career staff and only hiring the 2 additional positions, our 5-year master plan doesn't say what it is that we've agreed to do. So my main recommendation is just update the 5-year master plan to the numbers that I think the board has given us the direction to keep our staffing at. So, and as far as coming through that would be my first recommendation is to update that. We can update the numbers. 5-year master plan, change it up. I talked a little bit about the volunteer change already on what we're targeting for. As far as our targeting staffing counts, we have our 24 career members, so that again, this would all be part of what we'd update into our 5-year master plan. What is our target shoots? We're at 24 career responders. And if we got to 21 volunteers, that would allow us to put 7 volunteers on each platoon. I think our target was 27. So if we can target 21 volunteers, that would allow us to have 3. And by just doing some dummy math, by having a volunteer still expected to do 48 hours coverage a month, that would give us not the same qualifications as on the career side, but it would give us seats wise, butts and seats wise, the equivalent of having 2 additional career staff on each platoon. Again, not that they're qualified, they're not, fire driver operators and all that our career staff are, but it would be an extra 2 full-time
Extra hand.
people that would be that 3rd person, or if they're a driver operator, great, but more often than not, it'd probably be our extra person on the engine.
Okay. So the math just isn't math for me right now. 21's the goal, right, for volunteers?
Right.
Okay, according to your platoon sheet on here, I got 14 volunteers, is that correct?
This isn't the current one. Are you talking, I'm sorry, on the current?
Staffing report.
Oh, okay. I didn't count where we are today.
Yeah, there were 14. And of those 14, I got 8 of them. I'm sorry, 8 of them that have one discipline or another. So some are EMT, some are firefighters. So not all of these are all hazard. And is the goal to
Some are EMT only.
Yeah, and some of it looks like are firefighter only too. Is the goal to make them all hazards?
No.
No, we want to keep them in one bucket.
It'd be an
Another?
EMT. It'd be an extra EMT for most of them.
Okay, how does the battalion chief differentiate those certifications? Obviously, does he have his passport tags that says this person can do that, this person can't do that?
Well, it'd be the same 7 volunteers on each platoon. So that BC knows who's what certified. So when they're building their shift assignments, the first staff already have their full year put out. So they're already there. Then what they do is they work with their volunteer to schedule out the next ones, the next month or the upcoming time period. They say, when can you fill in these? And then they put them, and if they're an EMT only, well, then guess what? You're sitting in this seat.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I mean, just having that 14 number of volunteers and then saying you only got 2 in the chute for upcoming EMT, 1 in the chute. I mean, I think that 21 number is kind of a far reach to get to. Right?
This kind of gives us a target of where to get. I'm not saying it would true right away or get there. It just gives us here's what we're trying to get to. That way, when we know we're trying to bring them in, trying to find that demographic of the volunteer to try to get to, and then if helpful, I mean, I would be tracking where we're trying to get at. I generally work with our BCs to find out, hey, where is your holes, or is this working out? This one isn't working out. Try to find out where are the needs. But in order to give us some sort of number, 21 is the best.
It's divisible by 3.
And that works out well too, yeah. So I didn't know if I went around your question or.
No, you didn't. It's just my concern is maybe this is a question for another day. It's just the amount of effort and time we put into a program that seems to be falling apart. This is on a national level, not just a county level.
Right.
Is we focus on doing something else, something different at some point. We kind of cut our losses. We still have our benchmarks. We still have our caps for volunteers. But it behoove us to, again, put our energy into something, programs that we have more interest in and we have sustainability in, things like that. Maybe
That's a good discussion. This is where I landed on my recommendation, but
okay.
still open for discussion, whatever we do.
Any more?
So I guess the last piece, just station maybe 2 response area, mentioned before, but I'll remind us that we did have our WSRB rating. And we did slip through another 5-year window of lucking out, so to speak, with Station 82. If that drops its status on a staff station, it would drastically change the insurance rating for everybody in the Johnson Point area. WSRB did have a more recent update about changing the miles from 5 to 7, but if we don't have enough folks in the area to count that as a staff station, it would be a significant impact on our community. So we have basically 4 options as far as how to handle or what to deal with that. And the first one is the relocation of the new fire station on the east side of the district. Still have the plan for the 2 staff stations, and that would balance out that by having an east and a west station to utilize on that property on 63rd if it were to be built into a second station, or another station that would be the second station. Is option 1. That was discussed years ago. We hadn't had any real serious discussion in a while on that. Option 2 is we continue to strive to recruit and maintain volunteers in our resident program as an interim measure. By having that, bringing on people, that's actually the second track I mentioned with our volunteer options. One is the one I described. The second track is to try to find lateral people who are already fire EMT, accepting the fact that these people likely are trying to go career, but it could be somebody that could have a place to live, increase the staffing, have some of that, and then that intent of that resident program is to give us a better response capability, help out some of the staffing, increase some of our numbers for
So
volunteer.
if they
candidates.
lateraled over, they're working for another department, but they're living in our district.
By lateral, I mean they're already certified fire and EMT. Like they're
And
already.
they would go on calls from the house.
Yeah, we still have some of the details to work in on. Are they responding straight from there, or is it a pool that the BC needs to put down at whichever location? But by having them reside there gives us the credit for WSRB. But as far as, yeah, if we could ramp up to have enough staff there, then they'd be able to respond. And the other expectation is that we want our residents to attend at least 50% of our callbacks. One of the big ones, we have big fire. We have 2 engines and that's all we have. And then we get not a great response on callbacks. Have a fire, we do a recall. Call. So the expectation is that they pull at least 50% of those callbacks, and then they could send up to station 82.
But if they're working at another station, they can't do a callback.
That's why we said it's 50%. Try to make half of them. And if they were able to get up to station 82, grab the engine, we ideally try to have another engine that could either help on the emergency itself or do that backup engine. That's the idea on that's option 2. Option 3, hire career and or additional volunteers to enhance staffing levels to staff at station 82. And then this would be the staff 81, 82, and 83. These things become less and less feasible as I go through, but it is an option. Maybe not budgetarily an option, but that's an idea. And then option 4 is accept the area's response deficiencies. And if this option is selected, it's highly advised to plan for significant public communications and information campaign. Be prepared to explain the topic. Be prepared to address the community's inquiries, because I think we would have a significant outcry of people. What happened to my fire insurance, and why did I lose my fire station? My least advisable of the options. So that's kind of the end summary of how the options are, where we look on that. And then the last page is just a recap that this is what our goal is. So I've highlighted on the, there's a section here where it was some former commissioner meeting minutes from October 8th, 2024. The board unanimously approved the 2025 master plan. So that technically is what the district says is our plan. And that says we would have 25 volunteers and 28 career members. And now we've changed our, what we can afford. So that goes back to my earlier recommendation of, I just recommend update 5-year master plan. So it doesn't look like we're not doing what it says we said we were doing.
Okay. And we just had our evaluation from WSRB, right?
Right.
They didn't make any recommendations about out to 82, so we got another 5 years before we really gotta address that one.
I wouldn't say it that way. I think we probably ought to start addressing it because they're going to look at the previous 5 years. They're looking at this 5-year period.
Yeah, but we got some time to make it.
We won't be called out for 5 years.
Yeah.
Because a lot can change in just the next year alone.
Yeah.
Right.
So
If
we know.
anything, yeah, exactly. That's why I precursed my presentation with, I didn't include any of those factors.
Yeah.
So I appreciate, you know, this thinking ahead, this planning, this forecasting is always difficult. And I appreciate what you said at the end there about, the master plan. Gee, maybe we ought to revise our numbers of, career and volunteers to 24 and 21 because that's based on the budget. And yet your Station 82 ideas now, and maybe these aren't, I mean, they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 1 is, well, we build a new fire station. We certainly don't have the budget to do that. So there's a big inconsistency in, you know, in how we're addressing these pieces, I think. I don't disagree with your, you know, basic communications about, you know, well, we've got a 5-year plan that was based on forecasted budgets that didn't happen and don't look like they're gonna happen. So let's revise our master plan so that it's in alignment with our budget. And then we've got this issue about Station 82, and the number 1 suggestion or idea of things to do would be spend a couple $1 million and that we don't have and build a fire station.
I'll specify a little more because I guess what I'm getting at is the Station 82 is a whole factor. The Station 82 response area.
Yeah.
The whole issue.
Sure.
Then we also have the master plan, which addresses our overall, what we're doing in general. So the reason I have them 2 separated is there's a specific niche issue at Station 82.
Right.
But I still would recommend that we look at our 5-year master plan.
Okay, so let me say again, the concepts that you've presented seem to be divergent. On the one hand, you're saying, let's stay budget focused and fiscally responsible and adjust our numbers for our master plan based on what our budget is. And then on the other hand, it doesn't have anything to do with budget. I know it's a different issue. It's still one department. And so it's just, anyway, maybe that's not the number 1
Well, you have to take
thing,
them in
but
order.
that's the way you put them.
Well, they don't have to be in order. That was,
Okay.
made sense to me for the real fix would get our staffing of our 2 stations.
The
So
real-
that to me, is
Yeah.
what I think is your first
Right.
best fix for the option.
I think that, at least from my perspective, was that, and obviously, we've been talking about this for a long time, what to do out there, and we have an existing plan that has not been changed, that ultimately, when we can consistently staff 2 fire stations, then we'll technically get the green light to pursue putting a new facility out there and relocating basically this station further north, provide more equitable coverage. That's still in place. And I think that, obviously there's budgetary constraints, political constraints, a whole bunch of stuff. But, when it boiled down to what are options for better coverage out there, those are the 4 options that seem reasonably discrete and reasonable in an array of possibilities. I don't know that they were prioritized necessarily. So I think part of it is that these are the 4 things that we need to figure out based on the new circumstances that we face. What do we do?
Right.
And so I'll be honest with you, probably the most realistic at this point would be to fess up to the citizens that they're going to be receiving poor service for the foreseeable future. Because I don't see, we still want to push ahead on the resident program. We still want to look at how we deploy our staff and, things. But I don't know that these were in priority order. I didn't consider them that way.
Okay, all right.
These are all
That's
above-
just my perspective.
And they're all above my pay grade. I'm just throwing out 4 ideas.
All right,
Well, you always ask for options, so we gave.
thank you. I appreciate options. Engineers, notice numbers and there's a hierarchy of those.
Bullet points. Next time, bullet points.
Of those 4 people interested in that program.
We have to circle back on that. There is interest. Before we had the qualifications exceeded what the people who were interested were. So we're looking to be a little more flexible on what we can for that. So I think we need to circle back and find out, do we have existing volunteers if we updated the program? And it's worth an ask, because not sure yet. but we're gonna be asking.
Maybe just approach this problem like you do anything else, simple to complex, use the resources you have to come up with a solution and talk about re-incentivizing those programs and see if we can throw more money at those individuals, offer room and board, and just kind of get creative with. Because I think the last thing we want to do is tell people their insurance rate is gonna fly through the roof in this political climate right now. When we start asking for levies and votes and stuff like that, it's gonna be an issue. So we're working through that problem as we can.
Any more discussion on this? Okay, Heidi, Scott.
Okay, well, I sent out this is part B of the goal 2, which is our COT department. And the first one, just to remind you, was the SWOT analysis. Second one is deliverables, and the focus is on two-way communication with our community. And I'm happy to walk you through it, or you can ask me questions if you've had an opportunity to look at it.
I don't have any questions. I did review it. And thank you
Okay.
for sending it out. That was nice.
Yeah, but I appreciate the work that went into it and what's in there. I was wondering in terms of, the one thing that caught my eye was, your community feedback mechanisms, like after incidents and things like that. So
We have not implemented that, so that was the challenge, was how are we going to get two-way feedback from folks?
Yeah.
And we can easily send like postcards after we visit the schools, which we did, and none of them came back. We can do that when we do any social events, and it's a matter of who's gonna reply to that. We talked about doing something on calls, but it's very subjective because it depends on the call. One of the recommendations we've had, and this has been something we've talked about for years, is if it's a call where it's an elderly person that fell, to give them information that would be helpful to them. And one thing we did implement years ago was each rig has binders or some form that has all the flyers in it. And depending on what the call was for, if it's applicable, in theory, the firefighter is going to give that to them. But I don't think that's actually happening. You guys can speak to that. I think it's challenging after the call. That's not the first thing they're thinking about. And I don't know, what do you guys think about? Are you using those?
They're used, not often, depends on the call and severity. It's not always appropriate to have a resource like that, but we do try to get the best option, what we think is applicable.
Same thing with the feedback cards. Some of the ideas we had was how could we do it in a nonchalant, casual way, one idea would be, because we do have a general little brochure that just says, how can we help you? And it kind of lists all the different services that we have. That's something that they could give out no matter what, that just says, this is just so you know, we're here for you. These are the services we have available. And we could add to that, which we haven't done yet, like a QR code at the bottom of it that will say, give us feedback kind of a thing. But again, how many people are going to take that and take a picture of it and go to their, it's just going to be really challenging to get feedback is bottom line.
Being helpful and yet not look like you're selling aluminum siding.
Exactly.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and asking for feedback, well, how many stars are you gonna give me? Please,
Exactly.
the chief's gonna kick my butt if I don't have 5 stars and all that kind of stuff. So
I'm not saying that that's a great solution, but it's an option that we could consider.
Don't most people that have an incident happen will send something to the station anyhow? I mean, if it was a very positive type thing.
Sometimes they do, not everybody. Yeah, definitely we see a lot of people come in, if they save their husband's life, they'll bring in anything from a plate of cookies to making a financial donation, cards, that kind of thing. Yeah, but not everybody does, you know.
This has been really a long-term issue. I mean, Medic One, as an organization, has tried for years to use feedback mechanisms unsuccessfully, I might add. Problem is that we're going out on a person's worst day, and the last thing they want to do is dwell on it.
Yeah.
And some people will express, but it's not a pleasant experience. It's not like selling an automobile or performing carpet cleaning or something. I mean, it's really difficult to get meaningful. Now, you could get information back, but is it meaningful? Would it help us do things differently or better? You're just not going to get it. And I know, like I say, Medic One has tried it countywide for a long time, not really been very successful at it. So it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the
I
easiest
absolutely
op-
agree. Just thinking in terms of my own experience, I mean, the best you can, for me, the best I ever felt we could do was to just have that personal communication with the family member or the whoever and, support, hey, can, anything else we can do for you? You're gonna follow them to the hospital. We'll make sure the dog's inside. We'll close the back door. I mean, those little things, but those are all added and they're not really getting feedback. So yeah, I absolutely understand that. I just wanted to ask the question if there was some new thinking or something different about,
Well, the
with
challenge
its
is,
title right
the
there.
challenge is,
Yeah.
if you look at the first paragraph, that is the goal that was given to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's a tough one. How do you get actionable feedback from our community?
Right.
Well, again, I think part of it is that as we engage more in the community and outside events, outside the emergency event,
Yeah.
and mixing with people, they'll bring it up. Oh, you were at my neighbor's house a month ago and they thought you guys did great. And I think you'll probably get that type of feedback the more that we intermix with the community.
Yeah, engage in those non-emergency
And if you look
events.
at the comments on our social media, we are already getting that feedback. If you look at our website, well, our Facebook, for example, you could speak to that. The comments that people write, oh, they're great, they came out to our place, we had a blah, 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 whatever, and I love the South Bay Fire
Yes.
people, but you see that all the time, right?
Yeah, I feel like if people have feedback, whether it's positive or negative, they'll find a way to get it to us.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate the time spent on that. I just.
Any more
know that
discussion?
is difficult.
No, I think Chief's right. The part that was right too. The QR code in the moment when somebody's at potentially the worst position of their life and asking for feedback is not I don't think that's a right
Not the
attitude, right circumstance. I don't think that's applicable. I have seen QR codes on rigs. I mean, we were down in Arizona for spring break and there's QR codes for feedback on rigs.
Yeah.
And so if they have enough intent to go look at a rig or they want to say something or whatever. that
Yeah,
looks like.
and we did plan to use that to try to get feedback in other avenues and mostly probably at public events, community events, things like that.
Yeah.
And definitely the school, it would be nice to get feedback from them before or after the event. How do we do? What could we have done better?
I
How
would
could we
say
have changed our curriculum or?
that would be best to talk to the person that is the organizer, is to ask them prior to the event. And let them know, hey, we'd like your feedback on how we did and, where do you think we make changes? So
And this
that way
year,
they
we
can see
did
as
do
the
that.
event's going on, how you're doing.
We did send out a request for feedback, but like I said, so far nothing happened. So we'll have to work on that. But
Standard.
Okay,
Document's good.
the regional collaboration. Chief?
Yeah, since last month, we have had one group meeting that we had on the 27th. And I think that Steve Brooks did a wonderful job of facilitating it. And I sent you a copy of the draft minutes or notes from that workshop. Essentially, the next steps are looking at the specific service level areas, operations and labor, administrative, finance, and legal. And so, they're having subcommittee meetings now. And we had a operation, labor, subcommittee meeting, this week, yesterday, is it Tuesday? Yeah, yesterday, I guess. And we're having a, administrative, financial, legal subcommittee meeting on Friday. So we'll be sussing out more of the detail in those topics and so forth. So essentially, the outcome from the meeting yesterday was I think, a very good frank discussion. Again, Chief Brooks facilitated that workshop. The chief and the union rep for each of the 4 agencies was there. And not surprisingly, most of the interest and issues surrounded what happens to me when I go to a new organization. You know, what's the alignment for rank primarily, and obviously compensation and benefits, and what are the issues, identifying the issues essentially. So I think there'll be another meeting probably in a month or so, and the union folks are getting together separately to kind of powwow about that prior to that. So I think it was a very good conversation. And like I say, the finance administrative side of that will be Friday. So, and then Heidi won't be there, but I will. And that would mean the administrative folks will be at that subcommittee meeting.
So are these the meetings that you guys Pam are attending also, or is this something separate?
So Pam and I attended the sort of the kickoff, general meeting. And then what Chief's talking about is subsets of the folks who would be involved in that. And the decision basically was, let's start with the fire chiefs and the labor folks and talk about those issues, and then the finance and legal, that kind of stuff. We'll talk about those issues. So the commissioners aren't involved in those next level down.
Tentatively, I think the whole group's being planned to get back on the 29th, I think, of June, I think. So the idea is to get these subcommittee work done before
The next one.
Yeah.
And then will they, once they go through all these committees, then will they have another meeting like we did the first meeting to bring us all together to explain everything?
I suspect that's what it's going to be.
And is that going to be also including all the staff members also?
Well, we haven't gotten that far yet,
But it would be, to get everyone together, it would be an open public meeting. So
Yes.
it would be available to anybody,
Okay.
anybody who wanted to attend.
yeah, I think the next step is just with that group again on the 29th, where I suspect that they will discuss and figure out what they want to do next. And I would not be surprised if it's an open public meeting at that point. I guess it all kind of depends on how much progress is made in identifying the issues and maybe potential solutions or whatever.
And there's 4 departments actually looking at.
Primarily, it's 3, 6, and 8, and Tumwater is kind of watching. They're not expected to be part of any immediate action.
Yeah.
They would be down the road a bit, I think, if something happened.
So is Tumwater considered Black Lake McLean, or is Tumwater?
It's a city. It's a separate.
Yeah, okay, because it used to be Tumwater and Black Lake, and then it was years ago, or was it?
Well, well, yes and no. I mean,
Okay.
at one time they had an alliance with Fire District 5, which was Black Lake.
Oh, okay.
But now the Tumwater Fire Department's a
Just by
municipal,
themselves. Okay.
part of the municipality of the city of Tumwater.
Okay. Cool. Well, I thought this was really well thought out on how this was put together.
Steve does a great job,
Yeah.
no question.
Yeah. So. Okay, any questions? Pam, do you have any questions with that?
I don't. I'm excited to hear the results of all the little subcommittees after they meet.
Okay, so now we need request approval for Policy 0-001, public official roles and responsibilities.
Yeah, I sent this, sent it out, I think in March. We talked a little bit about it in April's meeting, and now, there were a few comments. I've included them in the final draft and would like approval of the final draft.
I would move for approval of the public officials roles and responsibilities policy 0-000-01.
I'll second
Oh,
All in favor?
aye.
And is there any discussion? I should have said that at the beginning, but we're good.
Thank you.
It's okay.
And then,
Look.
did Pam, and then policy 3-10-PO-W, dual membership.
Yeah, as we are perusing our policy manual, Chief LeMay brought up that this is probably no longer necessary as a policy. Most of the things that it was written to guide are no longer valid, and
Okay.
I don't know unless you want to add anything.
That's summarized.
Yeah.
It's not right.
And we're recommending that we just delete it from the policy manual.
Any discussion?
No.
I barely remember it, some issue that caused it to be there.
There was a
There was
reason.
one
I mean,
issue that caused it to be there.
The barn door
Yeah,
issue, but
Yeah.
Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second. There you go.
Okay. Okay, motion, all in favor, delete it,
yes,
approved.
thank you.
Delete.
Motion. And then Heidi, we have, approved the minutes.
Yes,
Minutes from the last meeting?
I did the minutes, April 14th.
This up, or did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I did, okay, so,
Any questions on those?
does anybody have any discussion on the minutes or?
no man.
I can move that we approve the minutes the way they were written.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And any questions on the warrants?
I had one, and it was on, it's number 383, the Lacey Fire. Says Public Safety Consulting and Planning Meeting. Is that our collaboration with
Steve Brooks.
for Steve Brooks? Excellent. That's what I thought it was. Okay.
Pam?
That's all I wanted to know.
Got any questions, Pam?
No, no, I did have one, but you know what? My kid's internet has been down most of the time we've been here. It just came up like 5 minutes before the meeting, so I couldn't print anything. So I'm sitting here with no paperwork. But if I think of it, I'll send a note. It wasn't anything super big, not a big deal. I just inquisitive.
Wait, can we have a motion?
We move to approve the warrants as offered as printed.
And I'm second.
Okay, good, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any announcements?
I have no announcements going around.
Good event there, any announcements? Any commissioner comments?
I have a brand new baby granddaughter as of yesterday. She's beautiful. I'm so excited to be down here to help take care of her for a month.
Oh,
Oh, good.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when, do you come back on?
The 9th, which is our next meeting. And our plane doesn't land until 5 or 5:30, which is right when the
Don't
meeting
worry,
starts. So
I plan on being back because just in case.
Yeah.
we gotta-
I'll
just
get
in
on
case
mine as soon as I get in our
we're
car,
gonna
but
be
I
here,
might
we're
miss
gonna
it.
have at least 3 years, so.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you can do that.
We'll just reiterate for announcements for meeting purposes, the graduation on June 20th.
Oh,
Information will be coming, but we'll have that
Mm.
announcement. in this.
Okay, okay.
Firefighters.
Yes, it's already, yeah.
Yeah.
Fired.
Okay, so review and follow.
Really, other than just continuing to follow up on our goals and objectives for 26, next steps in those goals, and then continuing reporting on the regional collaboration.
Okay. Well, then, I adjourn this meeting and there will That's it. We're adjourned. Haven't done this for a
Thank
while.
you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks. Thank you. Good night, everybody.